This is Paul. Yes. hmm there's what's known as a prehistoric people. Yeah. Now, this individual lived about 4 million years ago. Yeah. And then this person lived in Africa about 3 million years ago. Yeah. And then this individual lived there 2.5 million years ago. And then about 2 million years ago, this species was similar but larger than the robustus. hmm Then you got the Homo habilis that lived in Africa about 2 million years ago. Yeah. Now, approximately 1.8 million years ago, there was the Homo erectus. Yeah. Hmm. Then there was known as the Neanderthal man. Yes. Uh-huh. That lived in Europe and Central Asia. Oh. Then there was the Homo sapiens that first appeared in Africa between 200,000 and 100,000 years ago. Yes. Now, each of these different individuals of species, they have the resemblance of human beings. Yeah. Now, it says here the evolution of human beings took place gradually over millions of years. hmm And these illustrations are an artist's impression of how some of these major species of pre-human and early human ancestors may have looked. Now, I know as a Christian that the world began 6,000 years ago. Okay, I'm not doubting that. Nope. But somehow I was getting the feeling that this whole concept of the early hominins, yeah, the ancestors of modern human beings, yes, they look like they procreated, yes, and quite possibly they were meat eaters from this picture. Yeah. Now, I know that this whole idea of war is well somewhat new to humanity. I mean, we oftentimes think of the last 100 years of different types of struggles that we've had as actual modern humans. See, paleontologists refer to people living today as modern humans. They recognize the human population that lived after the Homo erectus for more than 100,000 years ago. Yes. Now, the scientific name given to the archaic humans who lived in Europe, Africa, China, and India. Yeah. 700,000, 200,000 years ago. Yeah. Now, they did find some DNA. The Homo sapiens and the genetic evidence comes from DNA found within every cell of the body. Oh, wow. DNA in genes is called paleogenetics. Oh. Now, geneticists have found that all humans alive today are closely related to one another. That's kind of an interesting concept, isn't it? That I'm related to you. Now, a lot of us would say, no, it's not that way. Oh, but maybe we need to have a look at these geneticists, yes, and the paleogenetics. See, somehow I feel like we're being Neanderthals, as if we needed to have a caveman decide. Yes. Now, when you have the availability of a large amounts of genetic material, really, yes, the Neanderthal genome. 2010 scientists in Europe have sequenced an entire Neanderthal genome. It thinks complete sequence of genetic material. Oh. Now, among these non-African people, however, 1 and 4% of the genomes come from Neanderthals. Yes. Now, I'm concerned that some individuals got a hold of the Homo erectus. Yes. Thinking that, well, what we need is we need to go back a few million years ago and put a little DNA in the, well, let's call the paleoanthropologists, yes, that say that we don't have wars anymore, but we do have them, yes. And then what's kind of interesting, the spread of settlement, yes, prehistoric people spread into new areas during the late Stone Age, yeah. Cultural and technological advances enable them to migrate to such places as Australia, Pacific Islands in North and South America. Now, this was sometime before 40,000 years ago. Yes. And these individuals in Australia, they are the direct descendants of a prehistoric age known as the Homo erectus. Now, why don't we call the geneticist, okay? And let's find out. And then let's call the continent of Australia. And let's look at some genetics. Now, I had said it's just a large island down there in the south of the Pacific. It's a continent, but they don't consider themselves that. No, no, they don't. And then there's this Siberia. Yes, just 130,000 years ago, humans had spread out to the cold and harsh plains of western Siberia. Now, it's not that long ago when you think about it, 130,000 years ago. Somebody decided to migrate, yes, to a very cold region so that they could kind of eke out, yes, a survival as a species of human being. Now, Siberia. I, I'm attracted to Siberia for some reason. Yes. Now, Australia's down here, this big island right there. Yeah. And then Siberia's up over here someplace. Yes. This is Russia, this upper part. Yes. But I thought they had some very attractive women that live in Siberia that were the direct descendants of those that had lived in the Gulag. You know, there's nothing like making a baby that happens to, well, the woman happens to be the great granddaughter of a convict of some sort of crime. I think this rebelliousness in the genetics of those that are the direct offspring of individuals that have spent a lot of time in prison. I can't Now, just, well, you have to think about the woman that you're in love with. She herself didn't go to prison. She never went to a Siberian gulag. Her great grandfather did, and when he got out, what did he do? Poop! Now I know. The Homo sapiens and the Neanderthals, the early Homo and the Homo erectus, and the pre human ancestors. Now, these are the important falls of pre human ancestors. Are a large number of cavemen deciding right now? Yeah. Well, I'm thinking that you should have allowed me to speak to my sons, and I'm going to want to know, are there any cavemen in Clallam County? Poop. Now, I'd seen some of those that makes you wonder, are there any caves that happen to have a people group that were hiding out in the forest that were beasting themselves? So you're not a leprechaun. You're a direct descendant, yes, of some Homo erectuses.